Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey, welcome back to another episode of Coming to the Stage. I am so excited to have another opportunity to introduce you to another powerful woman with a powerful voice and a powerful message that is going to inspire, encourage, and empower you forward. If you are new to Coming to the Stage, welcome. I am Indramah Rahim. I'm the founder of She Wins Society. And the purpose of Coming to the Stage is, just like I said, to introduce you to women who you may not know, who have messages that are going to inspire, encourage, and empower you in life and in business. And so coming to the stage today is a self-love expert, a mindset coach, the author of I Choose Me. She is no other than Jineen Huff. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring her to the stage right now.
Hey.
Welcome, Jineen.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. So I'm definitely excited to have this conversation. We've had lots of amazing conversations over I would say the years at this point.
Yes, we can put a little S on that. Yes.
Yes. And so I definitely want you to, I know I gave you a little brief introduction, but for anybody who is not familiar with Jineen Huff, can you please just let them know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, one thing, shouting out Trey, I like to tell people I used to let my titles be my idols. So one thing is, more than anything, I'm just Jineen. But if we're going to run it all the way down, I'm a nurse anesthesiologist. I've been a nurse anesthetist for over 14 years. When I'm not doing that, I'm the mindset coach and the self-love expert, helping busy, ambitious, overwhelmed moms bloom so they never lose themselves again by learning how to choose themselves more in life, love, and motherhood. So that's what I do.
Yes. Which is all so necessary. I think that we can never, as women, hear enough messages or receive enough reminders about self-care, about getting our minds right, about prioritizing our health, regardless of what labels we have, titles we have, responsibilities we have. Like, we have to be reminded, like the title of your book, I choose.
That's it. I choose me. And not selfishly, though. Like some people, I think back to how I was raised, like to even say those words, it would sound like you're being selfish and you're not thinking about others. And so, as you know, I always talk about serving from your overflow. And that's something I was not doing. And like I said, I had health problems, almost had a stroke. I was like 30 pounds overweight. I went through a whole lot from not recognizing how stress can really ruin relationships. It can also ruin your health too. So,
yeah, I can relate to. I think a lot of women, if you don't catch it at a certain point, or you don't have somebody who is guiding you to self-care, which I think a lot of us don't. I think that most of us tend to figure it out on our own at some point. Something happens, right? The health scare, you start to feel bad, you reach burnout. It's something that happens for you to say, wait a minute, I gotta do things differently. And then there are those of us who we experience the health scares, because I know women in my life, especially older women, who they go through the trials and tribulations of their health and having different accidents and all kinds of different things happening as a result of not stopping, but they still don't adjust.
I think the thing is just not catching that warning sign. And just as I said, when we mimic what we've seen. And so for me, like my mom was such a doer. She would just push through everything. I'm the strong friend. I just would push to the point that I overdid it. And so just really gauging myself in, because it leads to self neglect. If you always are doing for other people, that's why I said I used to be a people pleaser. And I think part of that came from being in a nurse so long that I just naturally give. And I didn't recognize some of the warning signs that I was having with my health until things got too bad. And, losing a child, that's another thing. Part of that was from stress. And so I have to, accept it. But as I told people before, it's stages to it. And so, we talk about death and dying and their stages to grief. And so I feel like in life, in relationships, even if they're still alive, you must still go through the stages till you get it to acceptance. but sharing your story, right? Like, I'm really big on Brene Brown's thing about vulnerability is courage. And I'm a very private person and I come from a very private family. So I've like pushed through my own stuff to show up for people. So for me, it's been a blessing working with you over these years, but you got to see me really just show up in those spaces for those people and be able to connect on a more intimate level.
Yeah. I'm glad we're having more of these conversations now, because like you say, it is a lot of it does come from what you've seen, like the definitely the idea of strong woman or strong Black woman, right? What does that actually look like? I love that we're changing what that looks like, because I, much like you, I grew up with a mom who pushed through everything to the detriment of her own health. I watched my mother-in-law as well. Like, some to this day, I look at her, I'm like, are you superhuman or something? Like, I don't understand how you keep going without stopping. But I also am very vocal about telling her, like, you need to sit down and rest. Like, now I'm at a place in my life, and I guess maybe old enough even for her to listen a little bit. Like, girl, you gotta sit down. Sit down.
Listen, this is the thing that people don't feel that they fail to realize. I mean, you can keep pushing, but at some point something's going to happen, and so it's going to cause you to have to sit down. And this is what I tell people. So even despite those health challenges, I had an injury, and the injury caused me to have issues with my hand. And so I couldn't even feel my whole left hand. So then that affected work. Then it affected, like, it was just a domino. And so, like, a lot of people didn't even see me go through all the healing process of going to physical therapy, occupational therapy, learning how to use my left hand again. Like, it was a whole thing. And it wasn't until I realized that I missed the warning signs of how it was already deteriorating, because I was like, oh, well, I'm right-handed, I can just push through. It wasn't until other things started happening, like I couldn't wring out a rag. Like, it then started to show up like, something's really not right. And when you go get checked out and finally say to yourself, like, girl, you really probably should have checked that out like a while ago. You know what I mean? So now you're living with symptoms that maybe wouldn't have been that, you know what I mean? Because you were pushing. And so I tell people, yes, I have all these things, right? Because, I'm always for a pivot, right? As a mindset coach. So even though I tell all these things that happened to me, there was so much blessings on that, right? So I tell people, like, that injury put me out of work for 7 months. So I could not do anesthesia for 7 months. And I had kept telling God, like, I don't got time to write this book. And he said, yeah, I'm going to find out. And so I maximized that time. I couldn't even type, right? Because most of the time when you're doing a book, you type it up. I dictated my book because I couldn't even type. So when I tell people you could push through, it's making the most out of where you are. That's what I mean by bloom where you're playing. Like, I was very upset that I couldn't even do what I had did my career. And they were talking to me like, well, you might not even be able to do that. I'm like, what? So listening, having the obedience, but maximizing the time that you're in that space. What lesson can you learn, or what can you do to serve from that space? So as me and you said, we always serving from the testimony of it, right? So when I got more comfortable sharing, it's like, not to tell you all my business, because I don't do that, but I share from that space of how can I help you so you don't go through what I do or what I did. And so the I choose me moment came from where, like, I had lost myself. It was like, so much there, with death and dying of a baby. I had a family member. I mean, I go into the book, as I told people, it was a lot when people read it. We're over 100 books sold, and that was of my signature copies that I signed. But the blessings, the transformations of people calling me crying, some people finding God through the book. Like, it let me know that 7 months that I was out, that I was struggling to write, I had to do it. And so I tell people, just start, but show up for your people. And so that has been the biggest groundbreaking thing for me, is just showing up, and showing up even for the one, even if it's one person, that's enough. Like, just showing up.
Yeah. And there's a gem. I mean, you dropped several gems, but the one that that really sticks out to me, and I think that a lot of women can resonate with, probably even right now in this moment, is the fact that you feel something happening in your body, right? You feel a change, you feel a pain, you feel a something. And again, it's that idea of, oh, I'm just going to take an Advil and keep it moving, right? This idea of, I'm not going to acknowledge that I actually feel something in my body. I'm just going to take something and just put a Band-Aid over it to numb the feeling. and not address it. And then it becomes this bigger thing. And I think about my own, my own family. Like my godmother, she passed away from ovarian cancer. By the time she found out that she had that cancer, the doctor said she likely had it for over a year. And if she had went to the doctor earlier, there could have been some course of action to try to help her. But by the time she actually went to the doctor, it had spread through her body so much that there was literally nothing that they can do. And she was gone probably 2 weeks after going into the hospital, And so it's just like that really sticks out to me, because that idea of, again, I got things to do, right? I don't have
time to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. It's like, it's really because you're so laser focused on all the other things you have to do. So you're like, well, I'll deal with me later because this needs my attention. And so that's why I tell people that I choose me. You need attention so you can laser focus back on them once you get you together. That is how I had to redirect that narrative. And so I think that's why I feel like I choose me, his home, because just like what you said, what happened with your family member and some of the things that happened to me. And I also have family members that had issues like,
Yeah, we gotta, I hope that somebody hears this today. And if you have something going on with your body, go get checked out. Like, it's worth taking the time to go get yourself checked out. It can literally save your life. It can extend your life. So don't wait. You're worth it. Like, you deserve it.
That's right.
To go be checked out. And again, when you think about being a mom, I know you say you talk a lot to moms. There's one thing that Dr. Phil said is always says, take care of your child's mother. Right. And we always hear that saying too, like that cliche saying about, like on an airplane, right? Take the moment to put on your own mask before you help somebody else. And again, it's like, if you want to be here for your kids, you got to take care of you.
Listen, that time off 7 months, like I said, I wrote a book, but I got to show up to all my son's stuff. Like, I came back to the hospital to do anesthesia like a new woman. It didn't even look like I had an injury. Like, I was refreshed. I was like, I hit burnout. It was my second bout of burnout, but this one was the worst. And it was like, when I showed up, they were like, wow, like, you needed that time. And I recognized how much I needed me. And doing the things that fulfilled my soul. Like, as a caregiver in my 9 to 5, you know what I mean? It was like, I give, right? And at one point I was married. So even through my divorce and all that, but you're still giving. Like, it's just so many places you're giving. And I just really didn't recognize how much I missed me and how much I lost me with those titles. And so, if we want to put divorce on one thing, that was a wife. That's a title lost. When I had the injury, that was like, oh, you might not be being a nurse anesthesiologist anymore. Like, as a mom, I lost a baby, but that's a feeling. Like, those titles, that's why I don't let them be my idols no more. And I tell people all the time when they say, what's the biggest lesson that you will go back and tell someone or your younger self, is you're nothing every season. Yeah. And I think that is why some of the women, when I read the transformations or I read the book reviews, it's like you're showing people that you're enough and talking to them little girls inside them. Because most of the time how you showing up is because there is something deep down in you that you have not dealt with. And how you talk to yourself is how you talk to others. So what I really started to learn is a lot of the things that I was seeing is hurt people. And if they're showing up like that, it's because something's going on. And giving grace. Me and you talked about this from perfectionism. It's hard when I've always functioned from that level of perfection, that it can sometimes be at my detriment, because if I don't give myself grace, I can't see it in others. And now I just really don't put expectations on myself like that anymore. I give, like I said, people the gate and walls, meaning I used to hold people so tight, like, you my people, I know loyalty ends. And that's okay. Like, I say that, like, it's okay. And I allow people to come and go like an ebb and flow. I used to be like, and now I'm just like, you want to be here? Oh, you don't? It's okay. And I respect that and I allow it to end. And so when people give boundaries of gates and walls, they will do so much better because they just allow things to give them peace. And that's one thing, I talk about confidence, mindfulness, and healing. Like, those are the top things of learning how to choose yourself more.
Yeah. Ooh, so good. So good. So good. So good. Like I said, I think that a lot of these lessons that you're teaching, unfortunately, most of us don't get them until later on in life. So I do hope that, as people are reading your book and people are listening to you speak right now, like I hope they're picking up what you're saying to avoid making those mistakes. Like you said, you're not sharing it just to put people in your business. You want people to actually do better by you sharing your truth. So thank you for sharing them.
Thank
I know if I had a Jineen that I could listen to 5 years ago, it would have definitely changed the trajectory of my life in a lot of different ways. I mean, talking about those letting people go and giving grace. Woo, Lord, those were some tough lessons to learn.
Mm.
Tough.
I think this is good too, is understanding for a new chapter to begin, you got to let one end.
Mm-hmm.
That's the season I'm in. This is my year of expansion, but there's a lot of closure that happens in order to do that. And you have to be acceptant of what happens when you want expansion. And I'm going to shout out Tabitha Brown on this when she was on a podcast and she spoke. Sometimes you say expand, but really what God means is to narrow your circle so you
Mm-hmm.
can expand, not necessarily your territory, but allow you to be you. And
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed as I'm expanding, it's going like this instead of technically the territory or those people aren't coming. And I'm okay with it now.
Yeah.
And so I want to tell people be careful what you ask for because in one season I was asking for discernment and patience and I got tried on that.
Yeah.
Okay. As Trey told you, she did that whole clip on peace. I care about my peace because, like I said, people will come for me. I would sit back or receive what you say. And so I learned as I'm growing into different seasons because as you're growing, you got to remember growth is done in motion. And so
Mm-hmm.
that means you have to be moved or stretched like a rubber band because, right, a rubber band has no real action if it's resting. It's when it's stretched that it's at its full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't like that stretching.
Nope.
It's uncomfortable, but it's for your good. And that's the same thing I feel like with growth. And when I recognize as I'm growing, I'm being stretched, okay, but I can't show up how I used to be. And I can't now say, oh, well, I'm like, I give myself grace, but I have to recognize now I know better. So I need to do better.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
can't lean back on that. It's like, nah, you know now. And use it as practice just to keep going. Like I think it's the baby steps lead to giant leaps. I say that a lot to people because they feel like I said with vulnerability or sharing that it's so big. It's like no, just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Help
Mm-hmm.
someone. What is something you can help someone with so they don't go through what you went through or a lesson that you learned, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So good. And it's also very beautiful when you do like I'm very careful what I say too, because I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I do want this, but I ain't in the mood to be challenged right now. But it is beautiful when you can get to a point where you can see it's like see your growth, right? Like, okay, I recognize that. In the past, that would have really got under my skin or made me upset or you caused me to say something I don't really want to say, whatever the case may be. Like to be able to say like, okay, I see you, girl. Like you've grown. Look
Listen,
at you.
listen. I told people well, one, like I said, I was challenged a couple weeks ago, but I think they really thought they was going to get a reaction, but they got a response. And so, like I said, I grab my peace. Like I hold that thing tight. God give you peace. I hold that thing. And what I've learned is I respond to things. I don't react to things. And if I
Mm-hmm.
know, and this is something I heard from Darius Daniels that I thought was so good, and he was talking about a wolf howls at the moon, but the moon never howls back. And what he's saying is when you become the light, because a lot of us are light bearers, we out there shining to serve. Okay, what happens is you hear the naysayers or the hens or whatever you want to say, and so you're so used to clapping back, but you never hear the moon howl back, which means you allow them to be who they are. But that doesn't mean you have to address every naysayer because you still gonna be the light anyway. So the moon's still gonna come up every
Mm-hmm.
night. Like it's still gonna happen whether they howl or not. Like so it was so much growth in that I don't have to go back to the everything and let it be. Like I think sometimes people are trying to prove who they are, prove I'm here. Really at the end of the day, when you just be you, you don't gotta really prove. It's in the receipt. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's like it's in the receipt. And I don't mean that
Yeah.
like boasting. It's just how things are happening for you is because you're showing up, right? And it's just a part of the what do we say, the harvest, because you've already sown the seeds by doing the work and serving. But the receipts are the harvest. So if they're howling at you, don't worry about it. You can check the harvest.
Yes.
And if you want to be a part of it, right? We talked about this on your IG live. I forget when this was. I feel like around this time last year, if I'm not mistaken, when I said that drive your own car, stay in your own lane. Like, I stay in my lane and I drive that thing to the wheels fall off. I don't be in comparison. And I feel like it's a spot for everybody. Because I think you were talking about as a whole body, how can people come into this space? And I said, just stay in your lane. Like, once you stay in your lane, you still are a part of the whole. You don't have to be the head. I think that's how you started the conversation with you being the leader. Some people want to be the leader, or they have some hate, or they sprinkle in competition. No, you don't. There's no need to. Because if you stay in your lane, nobody can do what you do like you do it. And that's why I said I just really try to stay in that spot. But I do pay attention that if I'm going to now be a light bearer, you have to be okay with the howling. You just need to know how to address it.
Yeah. So good. We're so in alignment too, because I literally thought to myself today, earlier this morning, how it's like I see certain things now. I see a lot of things that I just really I don't care at all to address it at all. It doesn't even matter to me. Like to even formulate a sentence that begins with like my haters. Like I don't even care. Like I see you, but I would rather speak to my supporters. I would rather put my energy into rocking with those who rock with me instead of addressing people who I mean, what does that serve me? If you don't like me, then what does it serve me to address you? It does nothing. It adds no value to my life.
That's going to free somebody with that. That's so good. And what I want to tag team on that is we always think it's the supporters that give us growth, but really it's our haters. Because when you talk about it in the Bible, they talk about stepping stools. And so really it's when it's in their mouth, right? And this is something that's going to challenge people's thoughts too. Most of the time the people who are jealous, they're not really jealous of you personally. It's something that they really like within you that they are lacking within self. And so if it helps them, because sometimes who knows, by them continuing to show up, if you are definitely a God-fearing woman, you may be the person for them that's going to help them change. So keep showing up and being you, but recognize, like I said, hurt people hurt people. So what I started to do is give some of my haters grace. And this is something that's huge because I wasn't always there, but they'd be like, pray for them. Like sometimes I have to woo swallow that, but you gotta pray for them sometimes, because really what you learn is there is something in them. I don't know if it's their past traumas, their past hurt, or where they are. Because some people get jealous of where you are, but they don't want to put in that work.
Yeah.
Right. They like the rewards, but they don't want to put in that work. And so I tell people all the time, because they're like, oh, you're a nurse anesthesiologist and you're this and that. I said, well, hold on now. Let me tell you what come with it. And I'm like, oh, you gotta go to school for this amount. The schooling is $100,000. Like, you start talking numbers and you can't work for 3 years to do this program. Like, you start thinking about investments. And I think that's in anything, right? Even in business. Like you said, there's ebbs and flows to entrepreneurship. And so recognizing that it's going to be work, whatever you do. And so even if they're hating, once they really know what it encompasses, then sometimes they don't even want to do it, but they just like the reward. So pray for them. Like I really got to a point I have to say, let me give you grace here.
Listen, that's not my words that I say when I see stuff that look odd. I just feel like God bless them. I mean, that's literally the word. God bless them. Like, God bless you. That's all I got for you is God bless you. God help them through whatever they're going through, because I can't do it. It's not. I can't do everybody. And also just thinking about like I talked about this recently. You know, our part of She Wins Society, but in this month we're talking about reaping what we sow, or sowing season. And I just really want us to understand, like when we hear that scripture, when we read that scripture, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, he will reap. Like we have to be mindful of when we do respond to people who are being negative or hateful. When we respond to them in a hateful way, we are sowing hateful seeds. and that's going to come back to us. So it's like nobody really can stop your blessings, right? The weapons will form, but they won't prosper. Nobody can stop your blessings but you when you decide to respond negatively to negativity, when you decide to give back hate, when you receive hate. You are interfering with your own blessings. It's not nothing they did, it's what you did, because God said, do not be deceived.
Yes, and hold your peace. This is the whole thing. Ain't nothing to say. Hold that peace. Like to put it together and then hold the peace.
That's
Hold
it.
your peace. Keep going about your business. What would he say? Tending to your sheep. Like I just being here tending to who I'm supposed to be, you know. And I talk about the Ruth and Boaz story so much because it's like when you are in the field doing your thing, it will show up for you.
That's it.
You gotta be seen, and in order to be seen, you gotta be in position. Okay, and so you gotta figure out where you need to be, and you consistently be in there. And so I've led into that, and I believe every year I have a word that I lead into, and one of them was peace, of course, because we was pivoting towards that. I was talking about evolving, like it's just so many stages because I love a butterfly, and I tell people it's just so many stages to that thing. And so when I hit rock bottom and when I lost myself, it was like, oh, woe is me. I got these problems, right? You all sad and depressed. That's the caterpillar, right? But you got to get hungry and want to do better. When you go in the cocoon, you by yourself. You by yourself. You got to do the inner work. You got to start in there and start really doing the mindset work, believing in yourself, loving yourself, owning your story. Okay. Then you got to overcome the overwhelm, and you got to go ahead and have mindfulness so you can bloom to be seen. And so I feel like when I really got that together, because the blooming part is when you bust out of the cocoon and you don't look like how you looked in the beginning. But this is the thing when you say about the haters, they see the butterfly, but they didn't see the other stages. And the hardest part is doing this. Like when you point like this, how many fingers pointing back at you? That's the part. That's the part. And so I feel like people really miss the mark on that. And so if you are noticing you're doing a lot of this, you might want to do some self-reflection.
Come on. Listen.
How you showing up, right? How you showing up?
That's why I said I don't have time. Like there's too many things. I am not a perfect person. I have plenty of areas of my life that I need improvement. So I don't have time to be sitting around judging other people, talking about other people, even responding to my haters, reacting to my haters. I don't have to. I can go to the gym. I can read a book. You know what I mean?
Like, I can work on my business. Like it's just so much. And I think finding, like I said, with the wheel of life, that's something big I talk about in my master classes with She Wins. And I'm like, you got to have the 8 pillars. You got to tap into all parts of you. And being a nurse, one thing we talk about so much is the holistic approach, mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? And so I believe you are more than just one part of yourself, and you have to really check in and figure out how you're showing up, because there's always work to be done. You give yourself grace and say, how can I do it better the next time?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think that if people went through life just thinking about like, let me be this work in progress. Let me focus on how I can improve myself, because ultimately the better you are, the better you're going to be for everybody else. So if everybody just focused on being better people, then that would impact everybody else, instead of you trying to monitor and manage how other people just focus on you. Be a better example for the people around you. How about that?
I think what really it is because a lot of times they don't want to look at themselves. They're so upset with themselves. They're so at turmoil with themselves that it's easier to look at others.
Yeah.
And so, people go where it's easy, and it's hard to always push against the grain. But so it takes a special kind of individual who wants to have determination, right? Discipline's a hard thing. And so to keep going, and not always being motivated to go, but doing it when it's hard, doing it when you don't want to, right? That's consistency and discipline. And most of the time people, they get tired. They be like, I'm not going to do this no more. It's too hard, right? Like they keep stopping instead of going through it. And so I think those are part of the things, but you definitely hit on things about focus on you. So you could be better around everybody else.
I think we all got more than enough struggles to worry. Like I just think we do. I don't think nobody's sitting there like, oh, everything's perfect on my end. Let me just start pointing out what's going on with you. Like we all got enough things to worry about to be sitting around hating on
social media too, like you said. And I think people get stuff on the social media reels. Like, they think that somebody's full life is just clips. And then they get jealous and want that. But I'm like, you don't even know what they've been through prior to even get that.
And you don't know what they're going through right now while they have it.
Touche. You know what I mean? But like that's when you start seeing it fester. So a lot of times I tell people, if you really in that space, maybe you don't need to be on social media, or maybe you need to unfollow, which is fine, or mute people that trigger something in you, because the goal is for you to be at peace. And so if you're trying to be at peace and that's causing you discord, then you check yourself, but block, unfollow, or mute, and keep going.
Yeah. That's good. Listen, we have to all learn how to have greater self-awareness and self-control and just focus on you. Like I said, this has been so good. And so you are going to be attending the She Wins Conference and Awards. You are going to be bringing your amazing book, I Choose Me, to the conference, and hosting an exclusive book signing for the attendees, which is so super exciting. How are you feeling? Like, how are you feeling about all of that?
One, I'm just excited to see everybody in the upcoming event. It's going to be great. And two, I'm excited for the exclusive book signing, because like I said, this book is really doing well. It's well beyond what I thought, but I knew all the things I went through, like I said, to write it, that this is going to continue to be a blessing. So I see them as seeds. And we talked about this, right? My book was launched in February, and that is Plant the Seeds of Greatness Month. And then the next month was Women's History. And then I just kept going. So each month. So I feel like when we're going to be doing this in November, it's just bringing things to full closure of the year for my year of expansion. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see people in real time, right? We're coming out of virtual events and we're starting to now get back out. So I'm just excited to spend time with the rest of my sisters and see everybody there. Like I said, I will be bringing the book. I will be there to sign and give you the collector's edition. If you aren't able to attend, definitely you can check out my book. It is on Amazon.com, but it's also, if you want your own collector's edition, you can get it at buyichoosmebook.com, and I will send you your copy. So I'm excited about that, and I'm just grateful. And check out the reviews just to see the transformations for yourself. Because like I said, when we talked about receipts and harvest, it's not about me. It's about serving for God. So I'm just grateful that my story is changing lives. And so hopefully, if you know a woman that needs it, go ahead and get it.
Yes, so good. You dropped so many gems today that every time you speak, I'm like, okay, I want to grab that and touch on that. We will be here all day long, but I do have to say this because it's on my spirit. You said that your story is changing people's lives, and it just came to me right now. Like, I think for anybody who's listening, like, we all have a story. We all have things that we've experienced in life. And I'm a full believer that our testimonies are not just for us. Like, they are meant to be the light at the end of somebody else's dark tunnel. So Jineen shared with you that, she wrote her book and she had to dictate it. Like, sometimes it's the journey to getting your book published may not be the ideal one or the way that you envision it, but we all have a story. And so I encourage you to find a way to get it out of you, even if it's not through writing a book, because let's talk about our sis Risa Tisa on TikTok with her 50-part series, which now sis is blown up. Like, she's doing all kind of, they're about to make it into a movie or something. Like, she's doing she got her story out. So don't discount the value.
Just start. That's the key thing. Just start, whatever that is. Just do it. And do it your way. Like, do it how you like to do it.
That's it. That's it. And you self-published, right? I think a lot of people too, their way, they think it has to be I got to get a publisher and I have to have all these things in place, but you actually self-published your book. So maybe if you want to learn what Jineen did, you definitely want to connect with her, be at the She Wins Conference and Awards. You can talk to her live and in person and ask her.
2 people in our She Wins that are birthing books. That's all I can say. So yes, so definitely. So yes. This is somebody's nod for now or the replay. Do it. And definitely, if you're going to be out there, come see your girl.
Yes. Oh, and I have to say this too. Jineen is not a gatekeeper. Okay. If you ask her, she will tell you the truth. She is open to helping. I've had She Wins Society members say, like, they may have reached out to me and I got back to them maybe 2 days later. And they was like, oh, and I reached out to Jineen and Jineen was able to help me. And I'm like, I'm so glad. Thank you, Jineen.
We're being able to help. Here to serve. That's why I tell people, when you're here to serve, it just show up. So show up for your people when you need help. But be the extension for others. You are the head of She Wins, and I think sometimes people lean so much on you, but I like how you allow people to be extensions of you so you can focus on other things. And so I thank you as a leader is what I'm saying. And so it's a good place to be for anybody who's thinking about She Wins Society to come on over and join us.
Yes. And I thank you for being an awesome member of our team. Like, you have been amazing, so helpful. And I'm just so appreciative of you. And I cannot wait.
November, I'm just counting. I got it in my calendar, so I'm so excited. And like I said, if anybody wants to know more, feel free. My website is on there, but I'm on social media, Intentional Queen Journey, everywhere. So you can feel free to DM me. And like she said, I am very what's the word? Not easy to get to, but like, you know, if you contact, I'm going to reach back out. So I like to be there for people if they need it.
Yes. All right. So Intentional Queen Journey on all social media. Website is
intentionalqueenjourney.com.
okay.
And if you want the book, it's buyichoosemebook.com. Like you buying it, buyichoosemebook.com. But all these links are in my link in bio, and it's also on my website. So you don't have to remember anything except intentionalqueenjourney.com, and you can come see your girl. And that's that.
Yes. All right, y'all. So y'all heard it here. Make sure you connect with Jineen at Intentional Queen Journey. And if you are interested in attending the She Wins Conference and Awards on November 9th in Atlanta, Georgia, we would love to have you, love to see you, love to hug you, love to share with you, love to continue conversations of inspiration, empowerment, and encouragement. Make sure you visit SheWinsSociety.com to learn more. We only have 25 tickets left yet, y'all. We are down to the last 25 seats. So get in where you fit in, sis.
We want to see you there. Yes.
Yes. All right, y'all. So this concludes today's Coming to the Stage. Make sure that you tune in with us every Wednesday and Friday right here on YouTube and Facebook for another special guest, another powerful woman with a powerful message and a powerful voice. Until next time, y'all keep growing, keep glowing, and keep on winning. Bye.